Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome to the Cheap Shot podcast with my good buddy, the Big Boss. Just going to do some housekeeping now. If you want to join us for more podcasts, then please do go over and subscribe to the Big Boss Book Club on all of your media channels where you can get podcasts, and also subscribe to Cheap Shot Entertainment and Cheap Shot Entertainment System, as well as the video games channel and the movie channel as well, because there's lots of stuff going off everywhere and lots of things to talk about. But this is the first podcast I've done for a good long while, so make sure you join us on all social media channels as well. That's Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and also the Big Boss is on all of those platforms as well. So enjoy the podcast. This has been run by the Big Boss himself, so I'm just a guest on his show, but we decided to video it as well so we could get it over on more different channels. Enjoy.
Just jump straight in.
Yeah, jump straight in, dude.
Yeah. So, welcome back. So, got my friend, tag team partner, cohort, Luke. Thank you for coming on again.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So, we're talking about wrestling video games. So, I think we probably should start off with the basics.
Yeah.
What was your first wrestling video game?
First wrestling video game, by the way, we are recording this for Cheap Shot Entertainment as well, so cheap plugs in there. My first ever wrestling video game was actually not on a console.
Not on a console?
Not on a console. It was in the arcade.
Oh, wow, okay, you're going to throw a curveball at me straight away.
WrestleMania Challenge.
WrestleMania Challenge. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
before it came to the, before it came to console.
Oh, did it come to console? What console was it?
Probably like the NES or something like that, but obviously it wasn't as good. Also, Royal Rumble in the arcades was fantastic.
So I've never played an arcade wrestling game.
Yeah, they don't have them anymore.
No, not really. We were talking about it before we started recording, streaming, casting. Superstars.
Yeah,
very arcade.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's skipping a bit ahead.
Definitely.
I actually mentioned my first one was Super Wrestlemania for the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Which we talked about actually had exclusive characters for the Mega Drive, which was the Ultimate Warrior and IRS, which is ridiculous. Like,
yes.
you could have exclusive characters, but actually, that's probably quite good as a concept.
I mean,
that's like Pokemon Red and Blue, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have the exclusive characters. No one cares about the Ultimate Warrior, but IRS, that's where the characters come in, man.
Oh well, I don't know. IRS.
If people would pay their taxes more, then we wouldn't be in this mess.
Exactly. So, what would be then your consoles going into consoles? So when did you? What would be your first console experience?
Console experience, I think it would probably be. I did have a really random wrestling game. I can't even remember the name of it. It was like really blocky on the PS1. But the one that I really remember, and I like begged my mum and dad to take me to Toys R Us to go and get this game. It was the In Your House game for PS1. You know, the one that was super arcadey by Midway.
And
they tried to make it a lot like Mortal Kombat with pickups and stuff like that.
I never had that. I never got that.
Yeah, it's great.
You see, for me, it's probably a bit of a cross, really. I can't remember which one came first. It was either WWF Warzone or WCW NWO Revenge for the N64.
Ah, yeah.
N64 had a cracking couple of games. You had WWF No Mercy and WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah.
Then they also, which wasn't too bad, WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
Which I actually own, and the reason I own it is because we found it on Dunkley Street. Gary found a load of, I think it was Gary, I'm sure it was Gary, he found a load of random N64 games in this bag. And one of them was WrestleMania 2000.
Wow.
I was like, I've got a 64, I'll I'll take that home. Thank you very much.
Nice. Thanks, Gary.
I'm sure it was Gary.
Possibly,
maybe
yeah.
ads, but I think it's something Gary would have.
Yeah, I think Gary probably would have.
Yeah, I feel like it's a Gary move. Yes, that was WCW NWO Revenge and Warzone were my first ones. Warzone was just wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it again before we started doing all this. Like all the characters would come out and be like, and they would walk to the ring like that.
Yeah, they would walk out on stage with a bit of pyro and they'd walk down the ramp.
Look like zombies, like Frankenstein's monster walking down to the ring.
But it was like a revelation because before that, there wasn't any really full entrances or anything. I mean, that wasn't a full entrance, but this was like 3D.
Super WrestleMania, you started in the ring with your characters.
Yeah.
And I always just remember on Super WrestleMania, there was like you could do like, recording this just after Survivor Series, there was a Survivor Series match and you could have like the 4-on-4.
Yeah.
But I think it would always be like, it was a weird kind of like gauntlet type match instead, where you would go against each other and then one would leave and another one would come. And it was a bit weird.
Okay.
But yeah, Super WrestleMania. Did you have a 64? I don't recall.
I didn't have a 64. I missed the 64 because I got a PlayStation. But before that, I had Mega Drive. I can't remember actually having any wrestling games on my Mega Drive.
No,
can't remember any.
I actually spent ages trying to find out what the game was that I had, because I looked online. Wikipedia has like a list of wrestling video games, and I went through it and I was like desperately trying. I knew I had something super at the beginning of it, and I was like desperately trying to find this game. And for ages, it said that Super WrestleMania was only available on the NES, the SNES. Sorry, and I was just like, oh no, I'm sure that was the one. Someone has obviously been back on there and rejigged it because now it says Mega Drive. It didn't used to say Mega Drive.
My like I say, my first was in the arcade, but didn't have a wrestling game until I was on PlayStation.
How easy was that to play? Was that like standard joystick, couple of buttons?
Yeah, I think it was a bit like, not quite like Ninja Turtles, but I think it was, as far as I can remember, it was at least 2 people. It could have even been 4. And but yeah, you could have tag team matches and all sorts. And it's like a lot of companies now are rehashing that kind of. I'm thinking like Retrosoft, Retromania.
Yeah,
rehashing that kind of gameplay, and that was the arcade game.
Is Fire Pro? Is that similar?
Yeah, I couldn't get on with Fire Pro, to be honest.
I've never had it.
Yeah, I did have it.
One of those games that I really wanted, but every time I saw it, it was always a little too expensive for me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not quite ready to pay that.
Yeah, I
for
think
Fire Pro.
I think for me, because I was so used to playing SmackDown games, it's like, I'll press this button to do this, that button to do that. When you got Fire Pro, I was like, okay, we're back to combinations again. And I'm like, didn't really enjoy it as much as I probably could have.
The classic Warzone, up, down, left, right, triangle, square, punch. Okay, now, up, down, left, right, R1, L1, kick.
Yeah, and I memorised those moves, man. I don't even know where I got them from. I think I had a mate with a computer who downloaded them for me in the early days of the internet, and I printed them off.
I had to print off from school, sorry. But my school's not there anymore, they knocked it down, thank God.
Oh.
But yeah, I printed off the full list of Warzone moves. And Tombstone for the Undertaker, Rock Bottom for the Rock. Downloaded a lot. And I actually had it folded on a piece of paper that I stuffed in the game box. So I could just take it out and be like, yes, here we go.
Love it.
Did you play any DCW games?
Yes.
Which one?
I think I had the ECW. I think I had both of them actually.
Yeah,
because they were made by the same people.
Yeah. Warzone, Attitude.
Yeah.
ECW, Hardcore Revolution is the one I had.
Anarchy Rules as well.
Anarchy Rules. That's
Anarchy
the one.
Rules was the other one. Because I played both of them because I was well into my wrestling games at this point. I'd like perfected like Attitude.
Yeah.
And I'd gone through like multiple years of the same thing in story mode. What was the story mode back then? And then I got the ECW games. And I was like, right, well, this is exactly the same, only in my head not as good, because you couldn't get access to ECW then.
No.
It wasn't a thing.
It was on, I think me and Jim talked about this actually on
Really?
RFC. It was on Bravo.
Yeah.
It was on like Saturday night at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only, and that was when it was on TNN.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Possibly,
TNN.
because they had problems with the network, didn't they?
It was the only place in the UK you could see
Yeah.
ECW, and it's the only reason I ever knew about it. And I actually saw the game in macro.
Oh, macro, that's
like-
still a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like $7.95 in macro plus VAT. And I was just like, "Oh, can I have this game?" And my mum got it me for like a present for like I think birthday maybe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Yeah, this is awesome." But yeah, it was literally Warzone. Well, it was more Attitude with a skin.
Yes,
Skin
basically.
for ECW.
Really daft matches as well, weren't they? Like they had a dumpster match, which was basically just throw your opponent over the top rope and they'd end up in a dumpster. And then I think for the second one they had like they had an Inferno match, but it was like lava around the outside of the ring.
Yeah,
And I was like,
wasn't
right, that's a bit stupid, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
it's
great.
wrestling. But even that was just that was ridiculous. It really was.
wasn't great.
No.
Then again, going through almost like a little timeline. I've got in my little notes that I always have drafted because I've got to be prepared. And we moved because obviously one of the reasons why they shifted towards ECW was because WWF
Yes. Back in the
moved
day, yeah.
to THQ.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes they did. Oof. Yeah. Now we can talk about games.
Now this is the meat of the episode. THQ. SmackDown 1, SmackDown 2 had
Wow.
the greatest promotional marketing advertising
Yes.
ever.
There's that.
Because the first one was The Rock,
Yeah.
and he was just doing like walking through the SmackDown
And
hotel.
everyone was like beating each other
Yeah.
up and stuff. Yeah.
SmackDown 2, I think, is Kurt Angle.
I think Kurt Angle, isn't it? Yeah.
Comes out the elevator. Your Olympic hero has arrived. It's true. It's true. Hey, hold these and hit some guy with his bags.
Yeah.
And then like knocks a guy off a ladder.
Yeah, they were really good, but I mean, they were like, if I'm not mistaken, the first game really to include a wrestling game with the element of going backstage. I think WCW had, I don't know if they'd done it before that, but they had like separate games. They had Backstage Assault, and then if you went on, I think I had Thunder, which was an awful game, but
I never played Thunder.
yeah, it was
Never played
awful.
it.
Don't play it. But you could go backstage there, but it was a random one room,
Oh.
right? But SmackDown, you went back into the corridor and then chose the room that you wanted to go in.
Yeah.
And it was parking garage, kitchen, and
You could walk around
yeah.
like a map. And
Yeah.
The arrows would point
Yeah.
you to the different rooms, and you would go into them, and you could
Yeah.
break everything. Like,
Yeah,
oh, look at this random steel pipe on the floor.
yeah, bang, yeah. And it was
Hit your opponent.
It was awesome. I spent hours on that game. I mean, like taking people into the kitchen and rock bottoming on the aluminium table, because that was so much more cooler than doing it in the ring.
It was more cool.
Yeah, it
To
was.
be fair.
The one thing I never
Yeah.
got though is in wrestling is like if someone puts someone in a submission move on a table, and the commentators go, "Oh, that looks really nasty." It's like it's not any different to doing it in the ring.
No. It's the exact same. The exact same. All that's happened is you've gone from one location to another location. When they do it on the outside.
Yeah, when you do it on the outside, it's so much worse. Almost like when there's a run-in and someone's beating another wrestler up. Again, digressing here. When this happened on a wrestling show I went to the other day. Odyssey Wrestling, fantastic, by the way. Go and watch them. Follow them on all the stuff.
Just social media platforms.
Yeah, social media platforms. And they had this run-in, and this guy was beating up this other guy, and they kept ringing the bell. I never understood that either. But if you ring the bell multiple times, are they going to stop?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's very much. I think it's supposed to be like a call for officials, isn't it? And the officials never come for like 20 minutes, and then it's just a couple of backstage producers. Usually someone like Dean Malenko, and he's there like
the Stooges.
Yeah, the Stooges, Patson and Briscoe. Suddenly run out. It's like, well, I don't really know why you're here.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Just one thing I wanted to get out there. Well, then you went on SmackDown too. Know your role.
No. Was it Know Your Role?
I think
wasn't Know Your Role.
No,
Just Bring It was
the third one.
Shut Your Mouth was 4.
Yeah.
Here Comes the Pain was 5. Yeah, that's right.
Know Your Role. SmackDown 2, Know Your Role.
Yeah, that was a good game. That was a good game.
Very heavily based on The Rock, obviously, at that point, because it was his thing. I mean, if you're going to be a superstar, you got a show named after you, a video game named after you, and all the subtitles on the video games were your catchphrases. You knew The Rock was a big thing, and he's still huge now.
True. I mean, they literally just, like I said, were fresh off Survivor Series. It was the 25th anniversary of The Rock debuting. Never appeared on the show. I
think they were on SmackDown, though. I think he did make an appearance on SmackDown because he was beating up Baron Corbin with Becky Lynch, I think.
No, that's old.
Was that an old?
That's an old
clip.
Yeah, that's an old clip. That was when they did their so many anniversary.
Yeah,
that was that. Yeah, no, he hasn't been on the show. He's been promoting that Red Notice, hasn't he? So he's been.
Yeah, they did that heavily based on Red Notice. Promotion before the show. It's like, oh, you might know Survivor Series. Well, this is the movie that The Rock's in on Netflix. It's very similar, but nothing like it at all.
Nothing like Survivor Series. There's no 4-on-4 Survivor Series match. There was no Roman Reigns, no Big E, no Becky Lynch, no Charlotte Flair. There's nothing like that. So the SmackDown games, I think that's probably especially for me, one of the big things about it had been introduced earlier. But I think the SmackDown games really brought it into a level. Create a Wrestler.
Yeah, new level. Absolutely brilliant.
Create a Wrestler was...
Yeah.
Yeah, even though SmackDown 1 had a lot of restrictions, you had to level up before you could be the ultimate Create a Wrestler. SmackDown 2 probably fine-tuned that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But Create a Wrestler, and then nowadays you can just create.
Yeah, I mean, there's stupid amounts you can, because you can import faces and textures and stuff.
Jesus, the modern games. Wow.
But SmackDown 2. They also expanded the backstage as well.
Yes.
So you went into the backstage, and then you could go in different directions. I think you could even get on a subway, if I remember rightly.
Times Square.
Yeah,
they had WWF New York.
And this was all on PlayStation. I mean, this was pushing the limits of what a PlayStation 1 could do.
This is in the same console that brought you Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 2. The original versions.
Yeah. I mean, they were really pushing it at that point. Of course, it was towards the end of the lifespan of PS1 because PS2 was coming out at the end of that year.
Yeah. And then PS3 got Just Bring It. Just SmackDown 3.
PS2 got Just Bring It.
That was a huge jump in not necessarily the game itself, but graphics wise.
Yeah, and quality. I mean, Fred Durst.
Fred Durst was a playable character on SmackDown Just Bring It.
Yes,
you could unlock and play as Fred Durst. If I remember correctly, I think did he come out doing the rolling dance?
He did indeed. But that's obviously the point where Undertaker was coming out to use rolling, and they were WWE's favourite band.
Oh, in 2003, WrestleMania 19, which we'll go into a little bit.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, definitely.
WWE's favourite band, Limp Bizkit. He started coming out with Rolling Limp Bizkit. Really hilarious, actually. Really funny we brought that up.
Yeah.
I recently, because someone put a picture up on, I think maybe Book of Face, it's talking about all the generations, what ages they are, and someone had got rid of our generation, whatever our generation are called, and he'd put in the Limp Bizkit generation. And I re-listened to Chocolate Starfish and Hot Water. It's like, that album is quite old now.
Yes, it is.
And that's really scary.
Yeah.
So it's only like 20, maybe 20 years old.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
longer than
easy. Yeah, definitely.
Which is terrifyingly scary because that makes us really old. But despite I'll just bring it massive leap in terms of graphics. We'll rewind a little bit. Other than WCW NWO Revenge, I never played any WCW games. Were there many of them?
I
don't know why I went so high pitched.
Yeah, there was quite a few. I think they did a WCW versus the World.
I know they did Thunder.
Really, and then they obviously did a Nitro, and the Nitro and Thunder games were exactly the same.
Oh wow!
With a reskin. I mean, obviously there was no reason for Thunder at the time anyway. And it's just that they were carrying a bit like AEW is now. Oh look, we're really big. Let's make a second show.
Yeah.
But Thunder was literally going into the normal wrestling side. Now Thunder was basically an undercard.
Yeah, anyone that didn't get Nitro.
Yeah. Because they had ironclad contracts, you wouldn't get like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash on Thunder.
They'd be on there very, very scarce.
I mean, you just wouldn't get it. So ultimately, Thunder. I mean, it was genuinely an awful game. The graphics were bad. The game engine was really bad. They had no redeeming features. But at the time, I was like, oh wow, this is great, you know? And you just get into it, don't you?
Yeah.
You get into it, but
that's crazy because for me, WCW NWO, for me, it's probably like that's a wrestling game I can go back and keep playing.
Yeah.
Like it had the same engine as WWF No Mercy.
Yeah.
Exact same engine. I remember it. I don't know. It's probably just a bit of nostalgia. Me, Rob, and Andrew would go around to their dad's house at weekends, and he had the 64 hooked up, and we would sit and we would just play on it.
Yeah.
And me and Andrew went through every title path and won it with an NWO member, solely because what would then happen on the graphics screen, like the main page, you'd see the person holding the title, and it would have NWO sprayed on it.
Decent.
And it just made
it just little things like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was such a good, but you could rename wrestlers, which was quite scary. And my cousin John had it on his N64, and because clearly he didn't know who a lot of WCW wrestlers were, he'd rename them all. So Goldberg was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I always remember looking at it, just being like, "That's really funny." I played it.
That's brilliant.
Why have you renamed all the wrestlers? Oh, I didn't know half these people were. And I was just like, I can't really argue with the logic of that, really. I can't really argue with the logic. Like, even I knew who Goldberg was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But he'd renamed loads of those. He renamed someone The Rock. I think it might have been Dean Malenko.
Team Powerup.
Because it had the flat top hair. And it's just like, yeah, renamed it The Rock. Didn't even do no move similar to The Rock. You'd have been better off renaming Booker T. That would have probably been a closer approximation. But yeah, like absolutely hilarious. But yeah, like WCW for me, absolutely revolutionised gaming. Like we played the N64, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, the usual stuff. But WCW NWO Revenge it was awesome. I mean, some of it was absolutely awful. Hulk Hogan's finisher was an eye poke.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't. They didn't have the facilities to give him the leg drop as a finisher. So his finisher was he would kneel in front of his opponent, go like that, and then he would go and he'd go and I poke him straight in the face.
I just think Flair did later WWE.
Do you know what? Yeah, I think Ric Flair was on it. It actually wouldn't surprise me if it was the same with Flair. I don't think I ever really played as him. It wouldn't surprise me if it was the same thing, just with a low blow as opposed to an eye poke. But yeah, like some of them were absolutely wonderful and really good. If you think wrestling, sorry, going backwards. But yeah, WCW never really, other than that, never played any of their other games. So complete blank.
Well, I was obviously WWE taking over around about that time, and I was always like 80s, early 90s WWE.
Yeah.
I never really got into WCW even during the
oh really?
wars. I only knew about it because there was so much hype around it. Because you got WWE on Sky. We had Sky.
Oh yeah.
WCW, you might find it on some random German channel or something like that.
Bravo,
or
Bravo also had WCW Nitro. I I think I mentioned this on one of my podcast episodes. I watched WCW Worldwide on a Friday night, 7:30, Channel 5.
Yeah, I used to watch that. That was
I
used to watch. I think it was on ITV, and they had the little spinning ring because it was at MGM Studios.
Early 90s,
early 90s. I used to watch it, and then it sort of got really big and sort of disappeared from normal TV.
Yeah, they went for the big network, Sky, that type of stuff. They took them up, they picked it up.
Yeah, so they never really, and obviously they're doing a lot of crossover with Japan. So most of the WCW players, wrestlers, were in the Japanese games like Fire Pro before it became Fire Pro. They had different names like Pick Rare or something like that.
But you call by their real names. No,
they don't have the real names.
Couple of offshoots, because obviously we're into PS2 now.
Yeah.
Couple of offshoots. Legends of Wrestling.
Yeah.
I didn't play the second one. I did play the first one. Headlined, I would say, by Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
Who was definitely not a legend of wrestling at that time. But he wasn't, I think it was probably maybe a little bit between WWE and ECW.
Yeah.
I think he may have been sort of end point. So he just before he was signed to WWF full time, he got himself a little contract with them. That was a good game. That was going back to Acclaim though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's your Attitude,
cleaned up a bit for that one.
Hardcore Revolution. The graphics on it were good, but everyone looked very comic booky.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like the Justice League cartoon, the old school Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, massive. Yeah,
it's like Rob Van Dam has never been a muscular specimen of a man.
No, he has not.
He's not the body guy.
No.
Yeah. Legends of Wrestling definitely had him as a body guy. Did you play 1, 2, both?
I didn't play either of those.
No.
I only had Legends of Wrestlemania. Because I don't know why I didn't pick them up, but I think it was round about the same time as I was like well into my SmackDown versus Raw and SmackDown games, so I had them every year. You just couldn't go wrong with them.
No.
So I never really strayed off the beaten path, really, because we're talking. And they didn't come out until 2000s. Have you got
dates? No, I don't.
Because they didn't come out till later on.
Always missed something.
You got Hulk Hogan and stuff in there.
Yeah, Hogan's in it. You got like all the Von Erichs were in there. A lot of like your sort of territory wrestlers.
Iron Sheik, I think, was in it, wasn't he?
Yeah,
was Sheik in it?
Boo, maybe.
Yeah, so they did have some crossovers then.
There's a lot of people who weren't employed by WWF at the time. So probably very, very early 2000 maybe.
Yeah.
2001,
2001ish,
probably.
When WWE bought up all the territory. I mean, all the competition at that point, and so people that weren't signed that needed some money, so they went to Legends of Wrestling, and got paid.
Trying to remember, I think they're all PS2. I don't think any of them are on PS3, are they? I think you've got SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and SmackDown, Shoot Your Mouth. They're all PS2.
They're all PS2. Yeah.
Here, I think for me, personally, again, I think Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth are probably as close as you can get to two perfect wrestling games.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that.
Especially Here Comes the Pain, because I think Here Comes the Pain has just better if Shut Your Mouth had Here Comes the Pain's graphics, I think I'd be
Shut
fine.
Your Mouth was fantastic.
Shut Your Mouth was what, 2000 sort of 3 times. So you literally had Triple H with no beard, like the Evolution Triple H, where you could change his trunks to different colours.
Yeah.
Because he had the purple trunks, which I thought were awesome.
Yeah.
You'd got the NWO.
Yeah.
And you'd got a way you could reskin half your characters, like you could change their entrances.
Yeah.
So Big Show you could change into an NWO entrance, Hulk Hogan you could change to an NWO entrance. You just had to make sure you always had like Costume C on. Because Costume C was like their NWO outfits. And then they come out to like the NWO music, and then you could, but then you could only ever have 3 men in a team.
Yes.
So you couldn't make NWO with all the guys.
Well,
in.
yeah, well,
you had to make about 20 NWOs.
That'd be the whole roster, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I think I've been in the NWO at some point.
Pretty certain I was in the NWO at some point.
It's just we just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we were, but it was a completely different.
It was completely different. That was more about the ninja variety.
That was the ninjas. Yeah.
Ninja World Order. I kind of trail off a bit here, if I'm honest, because I don't know. SmackDown versus Raw are all very unmemorable.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this when I was doing these notes and doing my sort of script for the episode. I don't remember much about any of the SmackDown versus Raw games.
Yeah. Okay.
None of them.
Okay.
Which is weird because they're a lot newer than obviously the SmackDown games.
Yeah, they cover a lot of territory. I mean,
SmackDown 5 is 2004? 2000, end of 2003, 2004?
Yeah.
So you've got from then till when did 2K take over? 2016? No. Earlier than that.
They were earlier.
2K 14?
I think it was 14.
Because WWE
13, that's when THQ finished and they went into bankruptcy.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, like, I've got my notes here talking about I've lived vicariously through these video games for years, created factions, storylines, like me and you have been tag team champions, me and you have been, I've had teams where we've feuded against each other, teams where we've teamed back up.
They were always brilliant,
And runners, but the actual games themselves, outside of the creator wrestler stuff for me, is very forgettable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got a bit more of a branching storylines, which were, well, pretty much all the same. We were talking about this at the moment. When I'm playing SmackDown versus Raw for Cheap Shot Entertainment, make sure you subscribe. And basically, you start off, you create your character, you start your season mode, and it was more about building up your stats, which I always liked about the old games. You couldn't just go in to create a wrestler and put everything on 100. You had to work for it.
That's what I'm saying about SmackDown 1. Like, SmackDown 1, the more stats you got, the more moves you unlocked.
Yeah.
Where they kind of took that away for the other games. It was more about getting the stats.
Yeah.
But in the original games, the more stats you had, the bigger move variety.
So there's that. Well, obviously the storylines were all pretty similar. Around about the same time, you know, they had a lot of divas in WWE. So your first storyline would be find random WWE diva, convince them to be your manager, feud with someone else who wanted them to be their manager, and if you lost, they sort of left you, and then you'd move on to the next diva. So, I like I say, I'm really enjoying playing it, but a bit more variety would have been nice. I think at one point I was feuding against Chavo Guerrero and Bubba Ray Dudley for the managerial services of Sable.
Sable was not going with any
no, she was not. Not at all. But I think where it changed, and I think they're bringing this back for the newer 2K game, was SmackDown vs Raw 2006. They brought General Manager mode in.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
like
and
GM
variety of matches as well.
Knocking stuff off. Yeah, GM mode, big thing. So obviously, like Squared Circle Jobbers, for example.
Yeah.
Give them a shout out.
Yeah.
They obviously do their GM mode and their updates on that, and they play through that. Like, that was, I hate to use the word, revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like you see all these people. They play Football Manager. And every year they download the new Football Manager games, like FIFA.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're playing a Football Manager game. And you always used to go, why would you be playing a Football Manager game? You just see and watch stats. But then actually, WWE were like, well, actually, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And everyone was like,
Yes.
This is awesome. This is the future
Are
of
you
wrestling gaming.
SmackDown or are you Raw?
Yeah. Which show are you going to run?
Yeah.
Who do you want feuding?
Yeah.
Who are you having? I didn't even think about putting a wrestling t-shirt on. I sat here with a Yu-Gi-Oh t-shirt on. I could have put a Big Boss Book Club t-shirt.
Ah, there you go.
Ah, damn! I didn't even think about it.
Well, it's usually because you're not on camera.
I'm not usually on camera, no. usually off camera, it'd be a bit weird sitting here with Big Boss. Randomly, just a random thing, completely unwrestling related. Obviously, I play a lot of card games and stuff, and you can buy deck covers to sleeve your cards. Dragon Shield's a huge accessories manufacturer, European based. They're doing at the moment custom sleeves, and I have ordered some Big Boss Book Club deck sleeves. Can't wait. As soon as I have them, they're going on Instagram. Can't wait. But yeah, like GM mode, just everyone's like, this is revolutionary. This is wonderful. This is amazing. I can run my own wrestling show. If I want to have Stacey Keebler managing Chavo Guerrero, I can.
Yeah, you can do it.
I can do it.
Absolutely, and then you can trade as well. You can trade,
move people over,
move people round. You can create your own sort of stories. If they're injured, you have to sort of manage them as well.
Yes.
And when you're picking your initial roster, you've got a certain amount of money. So you can't go in and go, oh, I'll have The Rock, I'll have Triple H, you had to sort of build
you got to
your
have your
card.
Yeah.
You've got to have your mid card and then your divas as well. And I think you could even choose your commentators.
Possibly
at that point, because like, I want JR.
Yeah, because you have JR King and you had Taz and Michael Cole.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes you'd find on those games they just did both.
Yeah.
Both shows, it didn't matter. We did a random offshoot again. Have you played the AEW mobile game?
Not the mobile name.
The general manager game.
No.
Yeah, I played a little bit, and then I had to get rid of it. I didn't realise that essentially I thought to myself I had my roster and I just put them to work, get money, and build a bigger roster, gain more money. No. You have them for like a contract period. Yeah. So you have them for like 4 weeks. So you have them essentially for four shows. Yeah. And after that they're gone, and you have to rehire them. But I'd spent my money getting these sort of bigger talents that they all disappeared. I didn't have the money. And I found myself in a position where I had no money and like one wrestler and like Jungle Boy or something, like dirt cheap. Yeah. And I was just like, I'm not very good at this. So I got rid of it. But yeah, I think general manager mode is something they're still now working on.
It'd be the first thing, first time they brought it back since 2007.
Wow,
2000, they took it out in 2008 because that's when they brought in ECW.
Oh, yeah.
And they had SmackDown vs Raw featuring ECW. But that was also, I was skipping ahead a little bit now, but that was also when it started to turn again. Because I remember having that on my PSP. Now this is where wrestling games looked good on mobile consoles.
Yeah.
Because they looked like they were on PS2. I used to smash that game on my PSP. 2008 in particular, smash it. Because that was the point where they brought in like different moves for grapples and stuff, and you could do you could pick them up into a cross.
Yeah,
and throw them out of the ring and stuff like that. And there was no collision detection to go over the top rope. And I was like, this is wicked. And I set a table up on the outside, put them up into a T-bar power bomb, and just throw them through a table over the top rope.
Yeah, you could put them in the power bomb, and it would put them in the power bomb position, and you could have do like a power driver.
Or changes.
Yeah, I remember
that. Was great. That was.
Do you remember that? Create a Move.
Yeah, Create a Move was.
When did that come in?
Oh,
that's SmackDown versus Raw, isn't it?
Yeah, that was definitely SmackDown versus Raw, because they had to fine tune that as well. Because you could set it up where you could jump off the top rope, do a flip, Then do a backflip. Then do a spin.
Yeah, and then splash.
Yeah.
I always seem to remember you could just do this almost never-ending chain of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you could pick them up. It's like a suplex. You then put them down. You put
Yeah.
them back there.
Yeah. I remember
The DDT position.
Yeah.
And then you could fisherman hoist them, then
Yeah.
pick them up,
Yeah.
and then you could put them back down again, and you could just do this endless stream of stuff, and then at the end you just DDT them.
Yeah, at the end.
Or something. It almost feels like I think we spoke about before Alberto Del Rio before he got to WWE and was Alberto Del Rio. His finisher in Mexico was that he would do a military press, put them above the head.
Yeah.
Then he'd put them back down, he'd turn them around and German suplex them. There was no need for the military press at all.
No.
There was absolutely no point in it. He would just put them down and German suplex them. And that was always, that's kind of how it felt. Great move.
Yeah.
Like, we managed to do the pack hammer for you.
Yeah, that's where the
Suplex.
pack. Yeah, that's where the pack hammer came
Yeah.
in. Fisherman's suplex into a
Jackhammer.
Jackhammer. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost the words.
Yeah,
I was like,
definitely.
what move was it? Yeah, jackhammer. Speeding along then, so we get obviously your WWE games. We move away from SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah.
WWE games. WWE 13. There's a few. How many is it before that? Is it like 11 to 13? 10 to 13?
No,
When
it
did
was
SmackDown
SmackDown
versus
vs Raw 2010, and then it went to WWE. I think WWE 11. Oh no, it was SmackDown vs Raw 2011 actually.
So WWE 12.
WWE 12, WWE 13,
2K14.
2K14.
2K. So obviously THQ, the maker of SmackDown games, so he's talking from SmackDown to SmackDown versus Raw,
Yeah.
and WWE. Shut.
Yeah. And that's it. They just shot.
Yeah. and 2K bought up quite a bit of their stuff, I believe.
Yeah, they did.
So like 2K at the time were really all about your sports ones. Whereas you like NBA, NBA like
NBA. What else?
not NFL. That's EA, isn't it? So, but like your NBA and like
NHL.
baseball as well, maybe hockey.
I think they did hockey. I think they did do hockey. They didn't do American football.
No, it was EA, wasn't it? Madden games.
But they're more into like just the basketball, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just basketball and wrestling now.
Yeah,
That's what I can think of.
the known games because they like to obviously stamp their own seal on it, don't they? 2K,
Yes,
so
yeah,
you know it's you know it's their game. But yeah, like they took over the WWE games, and I know we've all had our conversations. I know 2K19 was a bit divisive.
And then,
Divisive, is that right? Yeah.
And then 2K20. We're jumping really far ahead now.
Oh, did they do 2K20?
2K20 was the one that was completely broken, which is the reason they didn't do 2K21.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I'm thinking of. 2K20, not 2K19.
2K19.
2K19 was a good game.
Yeah.
That's the one with AJ on the front, isn't it?
Yes. I
Yeah.
believe it is.
2K. Oh, he's gonna find it. Has he got it? Yes, knew I got it right. Who was on 2K20 then?
Confirmed.
Who was on 2K20?
That was Becky Lynch, I believe.
Becky Lynch?
It was a huge thing. It was Becky Lynch. And it's supposed to just be Becky Lynch, and then they added Roman Reigns to it as well.
And fun fact, 2K20, the only game, WWE game, that probably will ever feature the Fiend.
Yes.
Hiya.